Today, we are in the 2016 Mustang Ecoboost, a car that might just be the best value for the money when you look at Ecoboosts. Since we started this channel about 2 months ago, I have driven several Mustang GTs and the brand new 2024 Mustang Ecoboost. Now, this one, yes, it is my personal car, but I'm gonna really give you an unbiased view on why this car, for the money you can pick one up for, is a really, really good deal. Just before we take this for a drive and talk about everything, let's hop out and take a look at this exterior. So this one is in this beautiful, beautiful red color. In my opinion, Mustangs in white or red are my favorite, but especially for the price range of this car, this is a very nice design, and you can't tell this apart from a GT other than the badge, the 5.0 on the side, and the GT in the back. That's what's awesome about these Ecoboosts. Now, in 2018 and beyond, the front end changed a little bit on the GTs, but hey, that's what makes the 15 to 17 so special. All right, let's take this thing for a drive, and at the end of this video, as always, we are attending the local North Korea festival, and we're gonna be doing some hard pulls in a safe location. So, let's start off with one of the most important parts of this entire discussion, and that is the power that you have access to for this price range. So, we'll talk about reliability as well, but if you get this car used, you can find them for between $15,000 to $20,000. If you're closer to $20,000, then you're gonna find these with definitely lower mileage on them. But you get 310 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque for under $20,000. Now, I don't know about you, but from everything I know about the entire car market, you cannot find a better deal for that in terms of dollar per horsepower value. And again, maybe if you go higher than 20,000, you're looking at more expensive cars. There may be a better deal out there in terms of that ratio, dollar to horsepower value. But under 20,000, this, from all my knowledge and all the years I've searched for cars, this one offers the most amount of horsepower for the cheapest price. So, 310 horsepower in a 3,500 pound car, yeah, sure, it's not crazy fast, but really, at the end of the day, horsepower and performance and speed is all subjective. Like, what is your own personal experience with speed, right? If you're somebody that, I just got out of the C7 Z06, so yeah, this thing does not feel that fast. But when I had this thing for years when I first got it, this felt fast to me. And even now on road conditions, this is still a blast to drive. Let's do a little second gear pull real quick. I'll show you what I mean. Look at the speedometer. I mean, it moves, and it'll get you into some trouble if you want it to. So, mind you, this one here is tuned. It has a 93 octane tune on it, which is another huge perk to having this car. This platform of Mustang allows you to modify this in almost any way you could possibly want or fathom modifying it. A simple tune, a preloaded tune that takes 10 seconds to put on your car, this car specifically, is about $400, and it adds 50 horsepower, just like that. Now you're making 350, 360 horsepower and like 340, 350 pound-feet of torque. It's incredible. You do want to be very careful with how much you modify these cars though, because, well, let's talk about the reliability. So yes, you get super cheap access to actually decent performance, but that comes at a cost. These are not the most reliable cars. Of course, we're not looking at a Toyota Corolla here. There are forums of people who heavily modify these cars and experience issues. Now, my suggestion to you would be, don't push 400 horsepower in a 4-cylinder car. I mean, just saying that sounds dumb. 100 horsepower per cylinder, not the best idea, especially in an American car. But 310 to 350, I would argue, is the sweet spot for a Mustang Ecoboost. And it gives you just enough thrill, just enough speed. So, if you're looking for 400 plus, yes, this is not the car you ideally want to run it with. But again, we're talking about a car under $20,000, so there's only so much you can ask for. And if you look at just everything this car has to offer, you start to realize the Ecoboost is actually a fantastic deal. Now, I know this car gets so much hate, like, oh, it's not a GT, or oh, it sounds like a vacuum cleaner, all of that BS, or oh, it's slow. Well, no, it's not slow. I was part of a car club. They all had fast cars. I was one of the slowest cars in the car club, but I was able to enjoy late night races and runs with them in this car. So I could keep up easily. In some of the lower tier cars, we had a bunch of fun racing them, and you would be surprised with how well this car can do. This is not something that deserves all of the hate. Besides, people that are hating and saying all the BS about a car that somebody else owns is likely coming from somebody who will never ever be able to own or afford a sports car in their life. So that's the reality of whenever I see comments on that, I mean, you can start to just look at them and be like, yeah, that's, don't even pay attention to them. But I'm gonna make an entire separate video on a Ecoboost GT comparison, but just to give you a little quick spoiler, I drove a 2017 Mustang GT in complete stock form, and I was so disappointed by that car. It doesn't sound that good. It doesn't feel fast. Well, there's only a 70 horsepower difference between the two cars once you tune this one up. And plus the GT weighs more. So really you just, without the tune, yeah, you'd feel a difference. But a nice little Camaro there. A lot of RSs. I barely ever see SSs out whenever I film. But yeah, this car, considering it's about $10,000 cheaper, or actually probably even cheaper than that, than the Mustang GT, that's where the Ecoboost starts to become quite the good deal. And I really do mean that. Looks, you get them. Sure, when a car first comes out, that's when it's like really special. So, this is an 8-year-old car. It's not gonna be 9-year-old car if you go from 2015. It's not gonna be as special as it used to be. But still, this is a good looking car that people they'll break necks at it. Not a whole bunch, but people will look at you. Especially maybe they're just looking to see the 5.0 GT badge, but hey, it's okay. And speaking of GTs, the noise that this car makes, sure, it's not that good. But that is why you can buy an $80 little piece of equipment called a blow-off valve. Take a listen. You hear that? That thing took 15 minutes to install, and it was 80 bucks. And all that does is release the pressure from the turbo, and it makes this nice whoosh sound. So now you can actually enjoy sound with this car. That is why the Ecoboost is such a good car, in my opinion. You can get the sound. Again, you're not going to get the exhaust sound. If you decide to put an exhaust in this car, you're going to be, well, disappointed if you're looking for a good sounding exhaust, because you're really not going to find one. There's only so much you can do with a 4-cylinder, but you can at least get that little nice whoosh from the turbo, and it's fun to use. I find myself just pushing on the gas, listening to that all day long. And speaking of which, yeah, this car has a pretty fat turbo on it, which may be okay, so the turbo is very reliable. The automatic transmission is very reliable. It's the engine itself that does not hold up that well. At around halfway through, I think it was around 40,000 miles. It's at 72,000 right now. I had a cracked cylinder head. So they had to put an entire new block in for the engine. Yeah, not very good to hear. Now, if you're like, well, that sounds awful, I will be honest, I abused the crap out of this car. I probably redlined it over 1,000 times. I've used the car, and for anyone that hates on that, well, nothing annoys me more than people who are like, oh, you're flooring the car, like, or they make jokes about like selling it, saying it's garage kept. Buy a sports car and have fun with it. Maybe I had a little bit too much fun with this, but I forgive the issue with that, especially because it's been tuned for the entirety of its life. I've raced it. I've done everything under the sun with this car. So given that, it has actually held up very nicely for how I've treated it. I mean, that's the only issue I've experienced engine-wise. There's other small things, like I've had the AC go out, and without warranty, that would have been $2,000 or $3,000. If you can, of course, with any sports car, if you can find a warranty, ideally get one. If you're looking at a car for under $20,000, this thing is seriously a deal to look at. The looks, the performance, sure, you take a hit on the reliability, the options to modify it, and okay, how about the interior? well, this is not the premium model, so you don't get the huge screen. But really, are you gonna spend an extra $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to get the bigger screen, heated and cooled seats? You can get hot by just using this little heat knob right here. Maybe I'm just justifying that I don't have a premium, but you know, money is important. We don't have infinite of it. If I did, I would get a freaking Lambo or Bugatti, but that's not reality. One day we'll be in a Lambo, guys, I swear. But out of any other car under $20,000, and there's one right there, I just don't see a better all-around value. You can get this in manual, by the way, but given the fact that this is such a phenomenal daily driver as well, I chose an automatic. And like I said, the automatic transmission in these cars are bulletproof. Like, they are extremely, extremely good. And when I look at other cars, well, first of all, if you're looking at new cars under 20,000, that really doesn't exist anymore. Especially sports cars, that you can't find that. But used sports cars under $20,000, I mean, you could get a Miata for like 12 to 15. You could get an older BMW Z3, but I don't know. I mean, this thing is just more modern, probably more reliable than the cars that I just mentioned. Maybe not a Miata. Miata might be more reliable, but this car is just the sweet spot of everything. It's more modern, it's still affordable, and the Z3 and the Miata are not going to be even half as fast as this, or half as modifiable as this car. So this thing, the more that I look at it, the more I realize that I could not be more happy to have this car. Like, again, you're always going to deal with the people that are giving you hate because you didn't buy a GT or something like that. But who cares about those people? What color is their GT? And if they do have one, then they're an a-hole that, you know, is not truly really a car person. All right, we are back on track. We got a little construction up here. We are about 60 seconds away from North Korea. So yeah, we're gonna do a bunch of tests on this car. To talk about some of the tests before we really do them, mind you, it's been a while since I've done the 0 to 60s and all that. We're gonna do real performance tests because this car is built-in performance metrics in it. If you go to track apps in here, there's acceleration timers, a G-force meter, lap timers, all that stuff, which again adds to the point that it makes it really do feel like a sports car, and it is a sports car. I mean, really, you don't have to have more than 4 cylinders to call it a sports car. That's nonsense. If it's electric, okay, well, I'm still trying to, I've never driven an electric car, so I can't really say anything about it yet. But either way, I don't want to trash electric cars if I haven't driven them. All right, you guys, we have arrived at our destination, and let's start with a first gear rolling pull. Ready? So not bad at all. I mean, that's an easy 90 miles an hour, or maybe like, let's just say 9 for the purpose of this being on YouTube. Well, we're in North Korea, so it doesn't matter. But I mean, okay, sure, when you're on an open road like this, it's not the most fun because there's no like danger associated with it. It's really when you're on the road and you're flooring it that this thing comes alive, because when you're like accelerating semi-fast and there's a car to the left and a car to the right of you, you know, it gives it just, I don't know, it makes it feel faster. But when you're like in a situation like this, it's like, yeah, you'd prefer something with a bit more horsepower. But again, it all goes back to it being subjective. So let's do a 0 to 60 test. I've gotten 5 seconds on this. You know, sometimes I think it records your last ever all-time best. So 4.9 0 to 60 is my all-time best. Mind you, this thing's becoming like a middle-aged man. It's got 72,000 miles on it. I just don't see this doing that time anymore. But hey, and my tires, I'm making a bunch of excuses. Let's just send it on a 0 to 60 and see what happens. Ready? Go. Okay, so 5.4. I mean, I will take that. I was not expecting that. And this is a perfectly flat road, so can't say that that's not part of the equation. Yo, that's good. A 5.4 second 0 to 60 for under $20,000 is genuinely a good deal. I mean, argue with me if you want, but I'm definitely sticking by that. Hello guys, I'm obeying the law here. Yeah, let me know what you think about this car. I think this is a phenomenal deal for the price tag. All in all, exterior, sure, reliability is not the best, but again, you can't have it all. Exterior design, performance, speed, 0 to 60 times, and what you get on the interior, an adjustable steering wheel. You get, you know, a nice, not anything excessive with your speakers, but speakers that are just enough. Small little infotainment system, backup camera, performance metrics, and an infinite amount of modifications. Let me know what you guys think about this. Appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.